welcome to New Day Northwest. We've decided to celebrate Valentine's Day all week here on New Day. It's Love Doctor Week. We're bringing in different experts each day to help us find love and keep love alive. Flash mobs break out. Thank you, Lindsay. Let's get going. Whether you're enjoying the excitement of a new relationship or you're comfortably committed in a long-term one, love is all around us this Valentine's Day. During our Love Doctor series this week, we'll be talking to various experts to learn what it takes to find and then maintain romance. So we welcome somebody who's spent nearly 30 years talking to people about failing relationships and now hosts a radio show and writes a blog on the subject of happiness. Please welcome Carol Bailey. So sometimes we don't always think about the fact that when you see a lot of couples going through divorce, you do begin to connect a lot of dots, right? You find a lot of threads that unhappy couples have in common, and then you can flip that around and say, well, where can I find some lessons?
Exactly. You hear things over and over again, and you start to realize these are some things that don't work. Or these are some problems that I keep seeing over and over again. And so after you see that for years and years, you start to have ideas about how to help people and say to them, here's how you can avoid coming to my office.
Some of those problems.
Right.
Did it ever dent your faith in marriage?
Not really, because I think more people should get married and stay married. And one of the things I talk about a lot is that people think that divorce is going to be a good solution, but often it isn't, because it just creates a whole lot of other problems.
That you may trade one
about,
for another. That's a good point.
People don't think about.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the things you've learned about relationships, making relationships last over time, because things change. And one of your first thoughts is that lust doesn't last, but like does.
Right. So we all,
there was a we from the audience.
Especially for people that are getting into a relationship, you have that heat, at the beginning, but that's not going to last, and it never does. So don't be deceived by that, and look at some other things that do last. And a couple of things that I've noticed are: one, do you have the same idea about family? Do you like to spend time with your family, and does this person like to spend time with their family? Because that becomes an issue later. If you always want to be with your family, but this other person is not much of a family person, it becomes a friction issue.
Right.
Another big one is autonomy. How much time do you want to be alone, and how much time will you let them be alone? For example, if they like to play golf and they like to go hunting and fishing, is that okay with you? Don't try to change them. After you get into the relationship, don't try to tell them they can't do those things.
Because that pretty much never works, right?
It never works. And then what about you? Maybe you want to go on a Vegas trip with your girlfriends. Are they going to let you do that?
Right.
So you need to have this issue about autonomy worked out at the beginning. So don't just get deceived by this lust.
That's great advice, and it's especially great advice for young people who really don't have a lot of experience with love and may be confused about those two. And liking also has to do with, is that the person you want to call and tell when you've got good news? Do you enjoy conversing over dinner? Do you always have something to talk about? I always think that says like all the way.
Is this your friend?
Yeah, your best friend. Let go of the need to be right. Still working on that one after 30 years.
We're all going to be working on this forever, because what happens is we have a way of seeing the world. And because that's the way we see it, we think it's right. And then people argue about what's right, but really what they're arguing about is that the two of them just see it differently. So the tip is, don't argue about that. Just be happy with the way you see it, and let the other person see it the way they see it.
And many times it doesn't matter that you see it differently, right? So you're trying to resolve something that doesn't really make any difference.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, when lust wears off, which it will, as you've told us, remain intimate.
This is really important.
Don't become roommates.
Especially this week. What I tell everybody is, there's one thing the other person's not supposed to do with other people. And if you won't do that with them, who's going to? Right? So you got to remember that. This is something that they're not supposed to do with anybody but you. So you got to show up.
Yes, I would frown upon that in a big way.
Yes. And the other thing is that having a strong, intimate relationship is the thing that gives your relationship vitality. It's a way that you stay connected to the other person. And in my office, when people tell me that they stopped having sex, I know this is just the beginning of the end.
Right.
Because the real connection and the engagement with the other person at a deep level stops. And once you lose that, then it's pretty much all over. And like you said, you just become roommates.
And as you say, that's a unique connection with that person and nobody else. So it is something important. Make absolutely sure you say something positive every day to your beloved.
Well, and I would have to say this is the most productive and the easiest of all things to do. The other person cannot read your mind. So when you're having a happy thought about them or somebody else says something nice about them, tell them that. Make sure you tell them. And my dad has a wonderful expression, never miss an opportunity to say something nice. And it's really true. If you
That's a great idea.
Never
we
miss
all
an
like to be affirmed, and
Everybody.
particularly by the person who's most important to you in your life.
And the person that you should most want to make happy is the person you're living with.
Right.
Because if they're happy and they feel good, then it's going to help you be happy and feel good. So never miss an opportunity to say something positive.
I guess everybody needs to be affirmed, but it seems to me like sometimes we as women forget how much men need to be affirmed as well.
And, you know, people that are real successful, we think they don't need much. But they do. Everybody loves to be acknowledged. And even simple things that you can say to somebody, thank you for being such a good parent. Or like in my case, my husband is so sweet to his mother, and she's really old, but I love that about him, and I tell him that a lot. I love it that you're so sweet to your mother.
It's wise.
You know?
This one, I think I believe maybe as much as anything in my life, humor can diffuse anger.
Well, and you know, this also comes into play when you're feeling really right. People who think they're right and they're trying to convince somebody, they're not really having a very good sense of humor. So it's important to remember that you're just like everybody else. You make mistakes. Your spouse is a human being. And so if you can just kind of have a playful attitude and say to yourself, well, there he goes again being human.
And be happy about that.
Right.
I mean, be happy that there's somebody there.
And cut yourself slack, too. There I go
Exactly.
again, being human. Don't be too hard on yourself.
We do something at home. When I'm clearly in the wrong, I will laugh and say, I accept your apology. And my husband laughs back.
That's really
it seems
cute.
to diffuse whatever is going on, and he says the
That's
same
really
to me.
cute.
When you catch yourself at that moment where, I thought I was right, but I don't think I am anymore.
Because you know how you get so tense when you're mad and when you're thinking you're really right. But when you laugh, then it all kind of lets go. So it's beautiful. Humor is
everything.
great.
I agree. Carol, thank you so much.
Margaret.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Carol's radio show is called About Happiness. It airs on the first Monday of each month at 8 a.m. on Chat with Women Radio, station 1150 a.m. The show is also online, and her blog can be found at seattlepi.com. We'll have those links on our website for you. And continuing our Love Doctor